Gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, welcome to Debate Crypto. In a world where hopium collides with common sense. It's your boy CryptoKeeper, as always, and the BlockchainCrusader, Miguel, and we've got a special guest. We're actually going to be looking to do this every Thursday night now, it looks like, as long as we can wrangle him into doing it. We're going to be doing TA Thursday with your very own CVO Crypto. Paul, start off with you, brother. How are you doing tonight?
Doing well. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you for having me back. Welcome to everybody that's
He's already
viewing
taken
here.
over.
But yeah,
He's already taken over. I mean,
yeah.
I think that
This
was
is
a
our
yes.
channel
He's
now.
going to stay.
It's like an autopilot. As soon as you start these videos up. So
No
yeah. Thanks for having me back, guys.
No
Pleasure.
doubt,
And
dude. We're glad to have you. Glad to have you, Miguel. How you doing, brother?
What a crazy week.
Yeah, man, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Excited to have CVO back on to talk about some TA and things that are going on in the markets.
Yeah, what's on the what's on the menu tonight?
Well, we had an 8K Bitcoin crash, right? Flash crash. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the market updates, the ETF launch that happened on Monday. How's that affecting the markets? It's been a big change since last week.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, you better grab your climbing gear because we're about to analyze some peaks and valleys. Let's get it. Kick us off, Miguel. Let's get into it.
So yeah, CVO for the people out there, right? Bitcoin crashed to 8K on Binance US. Like, what can you tell us about that? What would cause something like that? Why would that happen? And what does that mean?
So, I mean, I think it's been kind of tossed around now at this point that this whole market structure, right, is the leverage trades, right, come into effect a lot. So I actually put a tweet out. I mean, it's been maybe since like 50 or maybe even before that, but basically like back in September, right before we came down from the 53 high, the exchanges, the leverage rates, right? The funding rates, sorry. They get to a point when they're like basically the shorts are paying the longs. Like you get to those point where like it's just so overly, like the market is so overly long that these exchanges they profit on a market basically doing a squeeze to the opposite side, right? Because then all these positions get liquidated, all the fees are paid, blah blah blah. So, and that's just like a really like high level overview of that, but essentially you see these quite often, and it's like not necessarily like one right after another, but you do get these random flash crashes like we've seen a couple back. I'm trying to find the chart right now with it on there, but there was like one back when we were at like 30K actually, there was one exchange. I don't even think really anybody brought it up, but there was one that we dropped to like 21K,
something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It was way back then. So like, it was just on one exchange. So that's the thing. It's not on necessarily like the whole market.
So Paul, like, let me ask you this to make it real simple for the, because we've got a lot of beginners that definitely watch our show. Make it simple for the beginners. What actually causes a flash crash?
A huge market sell order. So, I mean, that's if you're going to tag on manipulation to anything like that, that's pretty much it. Right. So, essentially, you could a huge whale could go on there and basically just sell a big market order, and it just clears out the order book right there, and then they could come in and just buy it all right back up, essentially. So it would liquidate everybody else's positions on the, if of course you're not anticipating that, and if you're sitting there, just think about that. If it went down to $8,000, that basically liquidated any long position from essentially. Even if you had a 1x long, you're or 2x long, you're talking like from $16,000 Bitcoin and above. Had you bought anywhere there, you got liquidated on that exchange.
So this benefits the exchange.
Yeah, I mean, because they're going
to long positions,
right? Because they're going to collect on the fees and everything like that, and then people come in and repurchase new long orders and this and that. So it's super risky, and this is why the like number one reason in like leverage trading is like. That can happen at any point, any time on any exchange too. So it's don't get too greedy on these leverage trades, and especially don't get too over leveraged with like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60x, 100x, all those, because you have really small margins. But essentially the funding rates need to reset, and we were so overheated since like 45K basically, because you basically like ran from 40, from 39, 45K. The funding rates were already pretty high. Everybody was long. And then we rallied up to $67,000. And what happened at 67 or 60, when we broke the all-time high, a flood of, not just people rushing to buy and go long, but there was already buy orders set in place, right? Like, because people were just, that's the confirmation that they needed. Like, a lot of traders don't buy in the middle because you don't know which way we're going, right? The idea would be you want to break the all-time high and then you kind of are confirmed that we're going to go higher. Or if you break the range low, then we would head lower. So it just
that's
comes down
wild.
to leverage. At the end of the day, it was a leverage play, and that's just once again goes back to that idea that the market doesn't owe us anything, right? So it's the risky play.
No doubt. So let me ask you this: a young trader is in the game, trading, and says, "Well, what if I would have had an order set for $8,000? Would it
picked up?
It would have picked up, right?
Yeah. So, and like, it's so funny. My wife was just bringing this up like the night before. She was like, I remember Bitrex or Bitfinex. I think it was Bitrex back in 2017. There was a couple times, man, where like Bitcoin dropped down to like $100 one time in the middle of like, we were coming up to 20K, right? So it basically like just cleared out, all the leverage positions on that exchange for like right at the end of the rally, basically. But if you would have had orders, which people would do that, like, and that happened a lot of times for a lot of altcoins too, is like you could set some stupid orders down at like a penny chain link or this or that, and they would fill, right? Like on occasion. You have to kind of get lucky on the right exchange, because obviously it didn't happen everywhere, right? It didn't happen on Coinbase. It didn't happen on Binance.com. It was just on Binance US. So it's one of those things, like you'd have to really get lucky. Also, like what would possess you to choose $80, $200? Like, I mean, you could have put 20 or 10 or something like that, but anybody that had, was waiting on that 20K dip, they would have got lucky there, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, man. So CVO, give us an update, right? Since last week, a lot of things have changed. So give us an update on what you're seeing in some of the TA for Bitcoins now that this ETF got approved, and what's happening. What are you seeing?
I mean, so I've been going over this. I don't remember what we went over necessarily last week specifically, but I'll go ahead and share my screen a little bit. I do these daily live streams where, I put up just basically like the buy levels for Bitcoin. Like if you were lucky enough to get a pullback, right? Like these are the 4 spots that you look for. And it's the 4-hour, 21, and then these change as the day progresses. Like, right, these two are probably already, or actually this is the 4-hour chart. So this is actually still pretty accurate. But if we get pullbacks, we tend to see, like in this portion of the bull run, right, this blow off top phase, and just in general, like the daily 21 EMA in an uptrend is definitely where you come down to support. Right now, this is on the 4-hour time chart. This is the blue line right here that I'm talking about. You got a blue and a red. So right here, the daily 21 EMA would be like the most ideal buy in. This would be like a bottom, basically. If we came down and tagged this as a retest, I'm sorry, as a pullback, if we get one. I don't necessarily think we will quite yet. I still think we're going to probably punch up to like 74, 72 before actually getting like a 10, 15% pullback. And that's pretty much over.
Is that a gut instinct, or is that something that you're seeing in the charts?
Not necessarily gut. I mean, it's just like, the next target is that. So I have it pulled up right here. So, and I'll show you why. And once again, it's just like, this is the time frame where even from this entire rally, it's just like Bitcoin does not give us any entries, right? So until it's like super FOMO time, and for me, that time frame is going to come at about 100K, right? We're going to get these small pullbacks to where every dip right now is a buy, right, for Bitcoin. Because even this one right here, this might have been the biggest one we've had recently at 8% so far. If that kind of was the bottom. Aside from that, you see these other ones right here, right? We had like 4 or 5. This is 4% here, and so on, right? So for me, if we see a pullback, it's going to be right to this daily. Anything of substantial, measures here, and it would be 58K, which would be good. But everybody's anticipating this, right? So, with the markets being so heated, the funding rates and all that, like it's been like a danger zone. It still is. They're not necessarily reset by that like pullback, but it did help because it liquidated like $200 million in leverage. You know what I mean? So to put that in perspective, the leverage, the amount of leverage liquidations from the May drop was like $800 million, right? So that was a quarter of this huge drop was that liquidation today.
Happened
So
like that.
it's pretty big. So yeah, and then the next targets that like I'm looking for personally. If you capture this this high to this low right here on a fib retrace, we've obviously came through and broke all these levels right here. There's a couple different levels I look for on this. So I got it right now in log scale for price discovery, because essentially we're in price discovery, right? Right now we're not, because we came back a little bit. But this next target right here, this $74,000 would be where I anticipate that we'll see here over the next few days. And then we kind of might just bounce around in this level for a minute. something similar to like this, where we kind of come up and then we'll come back down and probably retest now, this previous all-time high, the 65, maybe back to where we are right now, like the 63 level, like this pretty much this little box essentially. Mm-hmm. And then we'll probably run up another move up here, make a new all-time high, get everybody all excited. It's going to be a lot of new all-time highs along the way, right? So this gets everybody all excited, all this and all that, and then possibly another pullback here, and just kind of one more retest of like around the all-time high. And I think this will close out the month, is kind of how this will play out. And it's very interesting to note too that the plan B, I've been bringing this up a lot, the plan B targets that he's got kind of go in line with that a bit too. Are you guys familiar?
So you're 63, isn't he?
Yeah.
So you're expecting these price movements to happen before the end of October?
Yeah, just in the next 10 days here, I would imagine we punch up to 74K,
Wow.
and whether it's once or twice, but at least once, and then come back down, retest the high. And I do think we'll close out around 60, 65, 64, and kind of like fulfill that plan B next target, right? And then his next target just so happens to be like 98K for November for the end of the month. So it's pretty interesting. I've gone over this 2 or 3 times in my live stream. So for me, it's like I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. But have you guys seen what I've been pulling from the 2017 fractal at all?
I guess it depends on from what it. No,
I haven't seen it.
Show
to. So what I'm about to pull up is like, for everybody watching, like, once again, this is like sheer speculation. But first off, here's Plan B's deal, right? So he's got August at 47K, which happened pretty much. September 43K, which literally nailed the last day of the month. October would be 63,000, November 98, and December 135. So 63, 98, 135, right?
So far, so good.
Right. So what I did was I actually went back to and not only does that correlate also with a couple of these targets, going forward, right? Because over here we've got the next target of 74, 87, and then pretty much 100K. Which is where I think that we are going to like basically cruise up to in the middle of November, and then get a pretty decent pullback. But I want to show you, like, if I could literally draw this out right now, I would do it, but I don't even have to, because I'm going to pull this fractal, and it's crazy how similar it. If I could just draw it out, I would draw it this exact same way. So it blows my mind. So I'm going to take this entire move right here, which is essentially the September low. This is 2017. The September low of September of 2017, and the top, for the bull run high, basically. Right here we get this pretty decent pullback. Aside from that, we get 2 small pullbacks, nothing major, right? And obviously, I'm not saying everything's going to be the exact same way, nothing like that. But if you had to but the targets that are actually here on top of Plan B's target, I almost feel like Plan B actually did exactly this and then called his targets, because this is going to blow your mind. So I pulled that exact fractal. I didn't even adjust it to scale or anything. This is just pulled over and threw over here. My target for December is $250,000 Bitcoin, right? You guys know that. Mm-hmm. And we went over that last time. So right now we're essentially look at how this is over. You can't even make that up, right? So I pulled this up, and I did line it up with just being the 250 top, whatever. But once again, not that it's going to be exactly to this scale right here. But you got Plan B. So he calls for this. So what I would see, and right here you got the all-time high, essentially where we're at right now, and we're kind of just cruising above that, below it right now at the second. But I would see a little pop higher, and we retest, which is pretty much what we're just looking at, like a move right up to here, which would be equivalent to, I'll zoom this over to it so you can see the price over here on the right. about 70, 72, right? Close to that $74,000 target. This is once again not 100% to scale. A little pullback, a run up, a new all-time high, get everybody excited. Another 10% pullback basically, and that would close out the month. This right here is November 1st, right? So this would be right at about $63,000, which is Plan B's October 31st target, right? And then from there, we'd have a rally into the next month. Once again, this is just sheer speculation, but it's interesting how this lines up. I would expect this price action to be very similar, though, at least on the way up. And maybe Plan B stuff doesn't line up as well. But a run up to about $95,000, $96,000, $97,000 in middle of November, right almost to the 100K mark, right, where everybody's going to be very excited and very nervous, right? Because it's everybody's got the target in mind that 100, 110, 120 is the top and all this.
Yeah.
And then we get, a decent pullback by then. Like this would be the first decent pullback since basically we started rallying 20, 30%. Who knows what it's going to be. But that would be $20,000 to $30,000, right? Coming out of Bitcoin. The literal May low or June low would be coming out of the market right there. And then this is middle of November. So if we saw a spike of just a V-shaped recovery, basically a few days later, this puts the end of the month right here at $93,000.
God,
buddy.
That would be an absolute wild ride, first of all. And I feel like a move like that, it will damn near wash out
everybody.
a lot of, it'll wash out mostly everybody, but it'll definitely wash out alts. That's such a huge move.
Yeah.
The alts are going to absolutely just fall apart.
So CVO, I wanted to ask you, right, for new people that are watching and stuff, don't know what a fractal is, and they're looking at this. My question to you is, how accurate are these fractals that actually ever play out? Like, what's the accuracy on them?
Like I said, this is just. I would have just, if with the targets I had on here just a second ago, like I actually drew it right here basically. So I would just draw this out for you, but it's kind of already just drawn. A fractal is basically never always this, like it's not accurate at all, right? This is just pulling previous price action and getting like an idea of what could happen, right? So that's why I say it's not going to be exact, but it was just interesting to see that when I pulled that over here, that the end of this month, the end of this month, and the end of this month all lined up with Plan B's targets, like to the T.
Yeah, almost as if that's what he did.
Right. It was 63K for October. It was 98K for November, and then it's 135K for December. So the 100, and what I was wanting to say about that is that if he nails these three, right, everybody will be holding on to his words with bated breath by this one, right? So if we rally up to 220, 250, let's just say, and we pull back, which is like a normal move anyways, you get a pretty decent pullback. Like this wouldn't be 20, 30, this would be 40, 40+% pullback right there. So that's basically bear market enter, right? That's your cue. You get a 40, 50% pullback.
Dead cat bounce, and then
you get the dead cat bounce and all that. So, but we would pull back
Pablo's favorite.
right to $135,000 from this target of 220, 240, 250, and everybody's going to give him some slack, if he's $5,000 off, whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing I bring up is that he extended the bull run timeline to like 6 more months or 4 more months, right? So if he nails this, and then this comes to fruition, because this is also the 29th of December, right? If this happened, this is a huge if, like, this is huge. We're just totally speaking in possible whatever.
For sure.
Everybody I think would get caught holding the bag right here is kind of what I'm just getting at in a real brief overview. Right.
Okay. There. So you're saying that if he gets these 3 points in the next 3 months, right, that statement that he made about extending the bull run, everyone's going to be anticipating that to be correct as well, thinking that we're going to have some level of recovery, and then they're going to be left holding the bag all the way down.
Right. So I was just getting into that random thing there, but aside from that, like the targets for, I guess we started talking about what the next move would be and what it would look like for the next 10 days. But so for me personally, I think we're going to see 70 to 74,000, and then we'll get that first real 15% pullback, 10-15%, right? Just to that daily EMA, wherever it lands at the time, because it changes and it moves, based on the day, right? This is an average. So by tomorrow, this is going to be another $1,000 higher, another $1,000 higher. So by the time we actually get a retest of this, I'm assuming we'll probably be up at the 65K level, which is where we are. It's higher than where we even are right now.
So talk to me about what we always talk about Bitcoin, right? Because obviously it's the market mover. It is always leading the way. Miguel loves that. But if you look at my hat, however, I am the ETH bull. Talk to me about what you think ETH's going to do in the short versus medium term. I know long term what your outlook was, but short versus medium term, what are you kind of thinking for ETH?
So ETH has kind of surprised me a bit, right? So because last time we talked, I was looking for ETH to kind of get rejected around this area that we were kind of punching up higher towards as Bitcoin made some new highs and kind of actually trend sideways a bit, possibly even towards like $3,300 again. And this is last time we talked, we were at like $3,800 Ethereum as the high, right? We didn't break above 4,000 yet,
Right. Mm-hmm.
So now it's a little different, but I'm still anticipating that we don't necessarily see just a huge, rally out of ETH yet. I still think that I feel like the market is switching because like a week ago, everybody was under the impression that alts weren't going to move at all. Bitcoin only was going to go up, and everybody was panicking about that, right? Because Bitcoin was rallying and the alts really weren't moving up. And now we've started to see, we had a little slowdown in Bitcoin, and then we had a bunch of altcoins pop. We had all the small caps pop, and now we've even got Ethereum possibly breaking out. So technically, I mean, it's made a higher high from the September, peak of back above $4,000. So I mean, it's in an uptrend. Breaking its all-time high, which is 4,400 ish, would definitely send the altcoins, I think, into a rally here. But I don't know. I just don't know if it's going to happen right now. I still think it's a little premature. I think we might just get a little sideways action in this $4,000 range. But if that changes, right, if we do just see Ethereum just punching through $4,400, I mean, this next move, the measured move right here is 46, and that's of this pattern right here, $4,600.
When you say a measured move, you're measuring a cup and handle, and basically, how are you measuring that?
Yeah, so right in this smaller area, there's like two patterns right here, basically that make up this. And this is an inverse head and shoulders right here, right? That everybody kind of was looking at the other, like last week. And then essentially to measure this, you get the neckline, you go down to the head basically, and then you pull it up to where we break out at. So that target up here is about $4,700, right? So that would definitely put us in new all-time highs for Ethereum, and it would basically be on like Donkey Kong from there, right? Then you got this bigger pattern at hand, which is
so it's like a double whammy.
So I mean,
two bullish patterns,
right? Mega bull right here. So and this takes it up, upwards of 58, 59, 6,000, however you want to pull it.
Let's go.
So yeah, I mean, Ethereum could totally just break out and continue higher. This is the daily time frame. I mean, it's getting around the area where it's considered overbought, right? A lot of times you see this come up here and it'll get a cool down period, but at the same time, when we're really bullish, I mean, it'll hold up there for quite some time. So it's just I mean, it's going to be, if we see Ethereum breaking out, man, that's pretty spot on that the altcoins and everything will continue. But I don't know. I think that everybody's getting too worked up and too aggressive right now in the altcoins, thinking that that's going to happen, and I don't know if that will. So this is another chart that I like to look at, is the total too, and this is all the altcoins in the market, everything except for Bitcoin. So it's like Ethereum, I mean, everything basically weighted together. It's heavily weighted on the like top 150 coins. So it's not like all this, it's doesn't matter if like one's going up, one's going, this is the average of them all basically. And it's got the same pattern as Ethereum basically right here, but it has not broken out yet. So this is like all the altcoins as a whole. They have not necessarily broken out quite yet. So something I'm keeping an eye on, but I mean, in general, we're close, man. And we're like within days and weeks of just massive, like face melting moves, right? So Bitcoin will probably still pave the way. At some point here, like there's been a lot. The thing I foresee more than anything is that there was a brief period. You had a run up in Bitcoin, right, where we just rallied 50%, whatever it was, since 40K. So 66%, we rallied up in Bitcoin, and we've had some little stale, some stagnation, some 8% pullbacks here and there, whatever. But then there's a ton of altcoins that rallied like hard, like 500-600%, 300%. And it was a lot of these smaller caps, right? Well, a lot of that money is going to probably funnel right back into Bitcoin to rally, to fulfill this last move up to about 100K, right, over the next few weeks. So I still think that we're just at the boiling point where the alts are, just about to break out, and then everybody's about to pull their profits, dump it back in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to rally again, and everything kind of trends sideways for in just a short period of time. So I could totally be wrong. Tomorrow we can see a $5,000 ETH and everything go from there. At this point in the bull run, it's just it's not worth, having cash on the side and waiting. At this point, you could literally sit on your hands for 90 days and make money, right? So that's kind of the stage we're at. More than likely, I'm leaning more towards altcoins are going to funnel back into Bitcoin for this last rally over the next 3 weeks, basically. I mean, that's all we got, right? And it's not so cut and dry to say no altcoin's going to move at all, but for the most part, it'll kind of go back to that. Another thing to look at is the Bitcoin dominance. And this chart, for anybody that is new or whatever, basically you want this chart to go down, right? So this is a chart that shows the correlation between how much money in the market is basically designated to Bitcoin only, right? So right now it's about 45%, and we were in this basically a bearish pattern. This is known as an ascending wedge here, right? They break to the downside 68% of the time. And basically when you see these, when you see Bitcoin dominance coming down, the altcoins have a good rally, right? So, however, on a lot of time frames, this looks like it's about to continue higher again. So as this goes up, that's like a straight up off switch to the altcoins. So if the dominance does continue higher, which I do anticipate it will, that's also kind of another gear switch, right? Showing that we might see Bitcoin kind of taking the reins again from the altcoins for a short period. But like I said, at this point, look, we're 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks. Bitcoin gets to 100K, takes that hit that we were looking at, right? That $30,000 plunge, and then from there, it's just complete mayhem for 2 months.
Yeah. So for those of you that are that's great. For those of you that are new, just want to throw this out there. So what Paul is talking about is the money flow as it relates to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the rest of the market. So essentially, what happens is money will start in Bitcoin. Bitcoin will run just like it has recently. A bunch of people will take profits. They will then take their profits, drop those profits into Ethereum that will then run. And this is historically what has happened. Okay. So this isn't what has to happen. This isn't like some rule or whatever, but this is generally what happens. And then ETH will run. People will take profit from ETH and they'll toss it into lower cap alts. Then the lower cap alts usually into crap coins. And then boom, back up into Bitcoin. And there's literally this cyclical flow. And so there are a lot of things in the markets that over the years have been able to be pretty predictable. And that is one of them. You can look at charts and analyze them 100 different ways, but that right there, the money flow in crypto has been pretty spot on. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh yeah, the dominance can definitely, it's the dominance is a great indicator on nailing a move out of Bitcoin. The problem sometimes is you don't know which way, right? And that's the thing. Even if Bitcoin's price action is going lower, the dominance can actually rise, because what happens is if Bitcoin drops, the market drops anyways, and then everybody
market drops harder.
Yep. Right. So they'll either sell out of alts and not buy Bitcoin, and just people holding Bitcoin will just, outweigh it. Altcoins will go into USD, right? And then the dominance is you don't want to see the dominance going down, basically. So if you're an altcoin holder.
Yeah.
So CVO. So last time you were on, you were saying that Ethereum is not going to outperform Bitcoin this bull run, and we didn't go into depth about that. So what's your thinking behind why it wouldn't be, not that it's going to have a flippening or anything, but why wouldn't it outperform Bitcoin this time around, right? If Bitcoin's having such great potential to go into 200,000, why wouldn't Ethereum be pumping as hard or even twice as hard, right? As we usually think that altcoins should outperform, and Ethereum was outperformed.
Outperform Bitcoin. Yeah, generally it does. So why?
So once again, like just I'll put I'll share this screen real quick. So I think that's a misconception. And at certain times, right? So it's like, ETH will outperform Bitcoin from start to finish during this bull run, right? I have a target for Ethereum to top out at $11,000 to $13,000, way lower than most people, looking at like 30K and all this and all that. And we went over that pretty in depth last time on my target for Ethereum, but I'll show you why. Let's see.
Yeah, we definitely went into, some of the targets as to why they were what they were, but we're just curious as to why you're seeing ETH with Bitcoin doing as much as it's about to do, that we're speculating on. Why is ETH not going to do so much more?
So do you think, without me pulling up the last cycle's chart, do you think that Ethereum outperformed Bitcoin at the end of the cycle last time?
At the end, what do you mean by the end?
I'm gonna
Like in
guess
total?
that the answer is no.
Well, I'm just saying, like the equivalent to where we are right now, where Bitcoin, let's just say it was $4,000, $5,000 and rallied up to 20K from the low of the September low. Let's just say that. Do you think Ethereum?
Oh, from the September low.
No, it didn't, because it would have had to have like 5x, and it didn't do that.
Right. So the thing is that that's pretty much where we are now, right? So it's this was this, overall, I'll say this again, I guess. So like Bitcoin is going to go from $3,000 to $250, right? So that's less than 100x, right? I'm not going to do the exact math there, but if
83.33. Go ahead.
There you go.
Rain Man math.
For Ethereum, for this bull run in general, Ethereum would have outperformed, right? Because you got a low of about $80. I'm taking this from 2018 bear market low, right? The low of Ethereum, and I'm going to run it to the high where I'm looking at. Let's just say it's $11,700. So that would be an 145x for Ethereum over the course of the bull market. So the same day that Bitcoin bottomed at 3K and the same time frame that it tops, it will outperform Bitcoin by 50x if it tops at this level, right? It just won't top. It's already outperformed Bitcoin, I guess is what it is. Ethereum actually outperforms Bitcoin until about May. And then from there, they basically are somewhat equal, okay?
You're just saying the time frame, over the stretch of the full market, ETH outperforms. You're saying during this time frame is where you don't believe that it's going to.
Right. So, and I'll give two perfect examples. One is just looking at the previous price action, and then I'll actually pull up the previous Bitcoin versus Ethereum, the dominance, I guess you could say, for the last cycle as well, and just look at how it performed, because you'll see that Ethereum actually topped against Bitcoin price in the summer of 2017 as well, and the same deal happened here. So and so from the 17 low, right, for Ethereum, I'm looking at the old cycle here to the top there. You had like a 5, almost a 6x, let's just say, for Ethereum. So I'm not necessarily saying, and this is the old cycle, that they're not going to outperform. I think that it's going to be like neck and neck, pretty much the same. And maybe Bitcoin from this exact moment, from where it was at 50K, at 38K, that's a 5X. And if from 4,000 to 12,000, that's a 3X, right, for ETH. So, but anyway, so previous cycle from September to the blow off, Ethereum was up 6X, let's just say. Bitcoin during the same time frame, this is the September bottom, right? I think it's like the exact same, pretty much. Yeah. So 576, literally the same exact. They both are at the same exact note right there. So I guess where I'm coming from is that between this time frame and this is 1 month before Ethereum tops. So technically Ethereum would be, like you could run up Bitcoin straight up to the top and then dump it into Ethereum for the last month, and you technically would win that, right? If it was that kind of sense. But the idea that like Ethereum is going to 10x while Bitcoin's going to 5x, like I guess I'm just trying to like say that that's not going to happen, where you're not going to have a better outcome out of Ethereum than Bitcoin at this level.
Yeah, at this time, what's left in the market, you're not going to do better with ETH than Bitcoin.
Yeah, somebody was asking. They said, "Well, if Bitcoin outperforms everything, why would you buy anything else?" That's not what's being said. He's saying that in the time frame where we're at right now, moving forward, it is going to be the leader. It is going to outperform ETH during this time frame. He's not saying that Bitcoin outperforms everything all the time, because that would be a lie. A lot of these alts are going to, I mean, Solana, Bitcoin's not going to touch what Solana has done this year, among obviously a number of other alts.
Right, and that's really the main. It's like literally these next few weeks, and it's not that Bitcoin will outperform. It's just that Bitcoin will. Maybe Bitcoin runs 30% while everything else doesn't move, right? So technically, you're looking at two things that are going to outperform. But if you're comparing Bitcoin to Chainlink, that's still going to 10x over the next 2 months, 3 months. That's not the same. But I guess it's just trying to answer the question. Like, it's such a hard thing to say, because like what happens is, like, it's not so cut and dry where it's just Bitcoin's going to rally and nothing else does. It might have 2 days where Bitcoin is the only thing moving. Because people change up their strategy, right? They will start selling their alts, jumping into Bitcoin, but then other people are going to be taking profits out of Bitcoin that have been sitting in it since here, and then they go back into the alts that are red, and bleeding and this and that. So overall, Bitcoin's going to 250 in a couple months, right? Would I say get into Bitcoin? No, I don't own any Bitcoin. I don't own any Ethereum. I'm not holding either one of those right now. I'm fully involved.
That's really interesting.
That's wild,
really
dude. That's
to
wild.
Me. Let me hold on. Let me touch on that real quick. So, Paul, you're looking at an asset that you're saying, hey, from where we're at right now, you feel fairly confident, or at least your analysis is telling you that you're going to go 4 times. You're going to 4x your money from here moving there. My thought process is, well, if you truly believe that, and I'm not saying you don't, but I'm saying if you truly believe that, why would you not be just heavy into Bitcoin, sit back, put your hands up in the air and say, let's run, let's go? Why not?
Because for a perfect example, I've already 4x'd my portfolio just last week in 2 other altcoins, that while Bitcoin did barely anything right now. So with the opportunity that they may still continue another 50, 60, 100x, 10x, 20, you know what I mean? Like, it's the thing with Bitcoin is that, to me, my strategy, right? Right now, it's not to have Bitcoin, but the end goal is to accumulate. So right now, I'm going to run up these altcoins for 10, 20, 30, 50x, 100x, whatever, for the next 90 days. And then we're going to run the bear market down, right? And come in and buy up the bear market lows, which essentially, if we top out for Bitcoin at 250, you're gonna have a 40, 50, $60,000 Bitcoin. So the next question is, why don't you just buy Bitcoin if you're, technically never going to lose at that point? But if you had $60,000, which most people don't, to buy one Bitcoin right now, you'll always have one Bitcoin, right? And that's a great thing. If you have one Bitcoin, you're golden. You're actually going to outperform most of this planet. But if you have $60,000 right now and you can 10, 20, 30 times that in the same time frame, that you would essentially only have still one Bitcoin at 250K. So now I have 10 times that amount of money, and I'm going to roll it down, into the next bear market low. And maybe it's not perfect, maybe you don't nail the exact bottom, but even if you can come in with 10, 20, 30 times your money right now and buy up a $70,000 Bitcoin next year, you're going to have
it's just incredibly more risky is ultimately the difference there. I mean, you have a lot more risk playing with some of these lower cap alts.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's not all lower caps. I mean, I'm in some large caps too. I mean, like, the lower cap is just like the small risk stuff, but high reward, of course. But yeah, I mean, it's to me, the market right now is it's so new. It's not going anywhere, but we're not at that position where anything matters. It's not where, like, when you got Apple, coming out with earnings reports and this and that, and then, you don't want to dump your Apple because, it's you 20% pullback, maybe, and then it's going to continue higher. Like, this market's going to crash 90% next year. And whether it does, whether I don't pick up the exact bottom, and this is just my opinion, my analysis on this, and everything. But that whole idea is so embedded in me because I went through this 4 years ago. So that was that's the major player in this, is that I lost everything right before.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
So did we.
Dude. Yeah. I rode Ethereum all the way from 1,400 all the way down to $80. Same. I bought my first Bitcoin at 10,000, and I rode that sucker all the way down to 3,400. Right. So my question is, you're talking about getting buying power, right? Doubling your money with all these altcoins and all these trades. Do you ever plan on buying actual Bitcoin and Ethereum in the bear market and holding, or are you just going to keep playing with alts and that's just your strategy?
Last time we talked, I think I went over that the 2025 cycle, right? The top for that is like $2 million. right?
Yeah.
And then of course that's going to continue higher, right? We got and eventually maybe we don't even measure stuff in dollars, but whatever. But
Yeah.
it means at some
Dude,
point
that's 3 years away, bro. That's
Yeah.
3 years away, dude.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like the idea is, my goal really is to accumulate the most Bitcoin. Like that is the end goal.
Okay, so
But
you're gonna
in
actually
order
be buying
to,
physical Bitcoin and holding.
right, in order to increase that though, like I'm doing this, right? So this is exactly in my opinion, it's the better way to basically, without having to inject more money into the market to create more Bitcoin, I guess, for my own self. So is it a risk? Yes. That maybe the market continues higher and I miss it and it runs away from me. But I doubt that if we get up to 250K and, maybe my Ethereum target is wrong. That's the only thing that maybe I'd say, that could go higher, 20, 30K, I guess could be in the cards, but I'd be okay with the strategy I have right now, because I know regardless we're going to have a major pullback at some point, and you can reevaluate as you go. But that's the idea. So
you're thinking this is one of the last cycles to actually start playing with these alts, try to grow your portfolio as much as you can before settling down into Bitcoin and Ethereum for a long-term future.
Not necessarily, but just as we go on, I mean, you're going to have like the last. Ethereum came out. Ethereum, I think, is more. Bitcoin is going to be that one that, like I said, eventually
you get priced out.
Exactly. And the planet, the people in this world, you're not going to have enough. Like, obviously we don't have enough to begin with, but just even for any wealthy person, 21 million, unless there becomes a time frame when somebody figures out a way to create more, it's going to be so scarce that you're going to want to have at least one Bitcoin. Technically, Ethereum is always going to be able to outperform in a sense because of going forward, right? You're always going to have the diminishing returns at this point, and Ethereum came second. So of the two, just like I showed a second ago, I just ran through the numbers actually. So if Bitcoin tops at 250, this bull run would be a 75x from the bottom, right? Yeah. So so like you just said, Solana 200x, Cardano 200x, and that's just now. That's not even at the top. So there's better opportunities at hand as far as that. But yeah, at the end of the day, like the Bitcoin price action is, you're going to want to at least accumulate one or two. Ethereum is always going to at least have $2 million Ethereum in 2025, what we talked about before. That's going to put Ethereum at like 100K. So from the bear market lows, you're going to still have like a 90K run out of Ethereum compared to whatever the 25K, 25X run or whatever it is. So I don't think that it'll ever, not ever, I don't think that we'll have only this cycle where the volatility is the way it is, but it's just as we progress, the highs and the lows are just going to continue higher overall. We got $90 ETH in the bear market this time. Well, the next bear market low would be 2K, and then the next bear market low would be 10K, so on and so forth.
I totally look forward to, I was talking to Miguel about this the other day. I totally look forward to, so I've got about a 5-month-old daughter, and I totally look forward to my daughter being, 15 years old and saying, "Hey, Daddy, can I get some money to go to the football game?" or whatever she's doing, right? And then she gets to the football game, and her friends are all talking amongst each other, this, that, and the third, talking about, well, how'd your daddy make all this money or whatever? And I just can't wait for my daughter to say, my daddy's Ethereum rich. You know what I mean? My daddy made all his money on Ethereum, and yeah, he's got a successful company too, but most of it was from cryptocurrency. And at that point, I truly believe that is going to be like me sitting down with my grandpa, right? And my grandpa saying, let's say my grandpa's from Texas, and you start talking to, he's not, but let's say he's from Texas
and everything,
family, and it's that oil money, it's that, that George Bush type money. And there's going to be a lot of us that are the quote common man right now, that I think we are going to be uncommon. And I try to explain and express to so many people that, listen, I am not trying to sell you hopium. I'm not. I'm trying to tell you that I genuinely forward thinking believe cryptocurrency is the future. Crypto assets. I don't like to call it cryptocurrency. Crypto assets are the future. And if you don't see that, just go to the bank when the power's out and ask to get some money out. Well, guess what? because I love when people ask me that, you know what I mean? They're like, well, what happens with your Bitcoin when the power goes out? Well, what happens with your cash when the power goes out, right? Because at the end of the day, you can't get to it and they don't have a paper ledger to tell you how much is in there anyway. And so if people don't see that we are headed towards this digital revolution, i.e. crypto assets, hey, listen, they've got their head buried in the sand. I don't see it any other way.
Right.
So CVO, I got a question for you, right? We're talking about Bitcoin not having enough Bitcoin around the world. So what can you tell me about Quant and its 14 million, fixed supply scenario? How do you see that? Or do you think that's just a kind of like a scheme that Quant is making up to, prop itself up? Like, how do you
No,
see
I
that?
mean, there's multiple projects that have super scarce supplies, and they'll Yearn Finance is a perfect
Yearn, I
example.
knew that's what you were going to say. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
YFI.
perfect example, right? So and you're going to see all these DeFi whatever I say products, whatever. You're going to see a lot of these DeFi projects have similar outcomes to that, and like Farm Harvest. I think it's Harvest Finance, but it's like Farm is the ticker, right? That came out, that hit like 30 grand when it first hit Coinbase for an instant, right? Whether that was real price action or not, you can see it on the chart at least. And then you've got, like I said, Wi-Fi, which was $100,000 in May, like just casually, just something more than Bitcoin. And no, I think that, just it's interesting when a project decides to only make so many coins, because it definitely creates a grand supply and demand situation, and it definitely creates a lot of urgency for new investors to consider it, get into it, and hold it. So I think that Quant will do well throughout the coming years, and I'm trying to think of another one that is in a comparison at first, but I was thinking like Zcash or something like that. Like there was a couple of them back in which didn't necessarily pan out. So as far as what everybody expected, but like Zcash and something else were like, same deal where they had super small. I think they have the same. Because they were forks of Bitcoin. So I think they have the same amount, like 21 million. So Zcash got up to like $4,000 or $5,000 or something like that back in the day. And I think everybody had the idea that would continue, going into the future. And then the bear market just obliterated that. So it's the bear market it makes me nervous on all these things. You don't know what is going to perform. I don't think anything's going to perform well during the bear market, but what is going to survive the bear market is I guess the question.
Yes, right.
I was talking with World War Bitcoin. I saw you guys had him on yesterday.
Yeah, it was a great show, man. We were happy to have him on too. Yeah,
I love that guy, man. He's a beast. And he was asking me what my bear market buying strategy was, and I was like, because he was like, I'm going to buy Solana and I'm going to buy Quant and all these. And I was like, I mean, it probably will be those, but I was like, if you would have asked, granted, it's a totally different world now. We didn't even know the bear market was coming. And if you would have asked me that, I guess, in the beginning, like what I ended up picking up in the bear market was nowhere near what I was into in the bull run high, if that makes sense. So it was completely different. And if you would have told me that Cardano was going to be one of the major performers out of the bear market, coming in at 1 penny, 2 pennies, 3 pennies, and then coming up to $3, earlier this year. Solana too. I mean, Solana, I don't think it was around. I could be wrong. It could have been back then, but Solana, man, 200x just this year, and then some. That's, how do you know? How would you have ever known that at the beginning of this year? If you lined up 10 coins to choose from, you had GRT came out, the graph right in the beginning, had a solid 10x run in like 2 months, and then flatlined the whole year. Solana went from
Phantom, Axes, dude. Great performances and completely unexpected.
The reality is, though, on some of these, you get lucky, right? And that's okay. That's part of investing. There are a lot of people that have been long-term investing in the stock market that have just bought a few of the right stocks, or maybe even one of the right stocks. Amazon was a company that sold books, and it was just like, yeah, cool, whatever. And now they damn near rule the world. And so I think Miguel, to answer your question about the supply, I have a thought on that. The reason that I think Quant is so hot is 2 reasons. So one, the supply, but second is the price has not gotten high enough that people don't feel priced out. We have so many of these new investors that come into the market. They don't understand market cap. And so what they see, because I know this, right? First thing, somebody says is like, well, I can't afford to buy a Bitcoin. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm not making fun of, I'm just saying the thought right off the bat is you need to buy a whole one, first of all, right? And then once you explain that, oh, okay, well then, I mean, what's really the point of buying less than that doesn't make sense? Yeah, it does. It's percentage gains, right? But I think so many people, Quant's at a point where people can still afford to buy multiple Quant right now, right? And it has a really low supply. YFI, on the other hand, right? Paul was just talking about that one. I don't know what it's at right now. Hold on, let me pull it up.
It's $1 billion right now, market cap at like 40K.
Yeah, but they're not
30K.
looking at market cap, right? They
right. Yeah.
The new people don't understand that, so they're looking at it and says $34,715. Oh my gosh! Like,
so what's crazy about, and I don't mean to cut you off, but you guys bring this up too often, is that you could literally buy a $35,000 asset that has a lower market cap than Doge at a dollar, or Shiba at a penny.
Yes,
right? Like that's what's crazy, and that's the first thing that I don't think anybody really and market cap doesn't necessarily mean. And Shiba and Doge are perfect examples, because sometimes
it's not the end all be all.
Yeah, right. But it's like a super huge aspect that you must consider. And because looking at Quant back, what was Quant like when everybody first started really talking about it, like around
$50.
socials?
Yeah, like $50-$30, yeah.
Okay, so the $30. So if you lined up, a $30 Quant and a $30 whatever, we'll think of something else, but
$30 Chainlink.
Yeah, exactly. At like $30 Chainlink, which is right now at like $40 billion.
Right.
And you looked at the two, but you didn't look at their market cap, and
right.
You would have bought into Chainlink instead. You'd be sitting still at $30 when Quant has like 100x opportunity from that. And you don't realize that at the time, and that's and at the same time, Chainlink could still go 10x before Quant would have went 10x, but Chainlink's not going 100x from 30, right? Which Quant could. Quant could close out this bull run at $3,000, and that would be $40 billion market cap for a hot minute, and then it would crash 90% over 3 years, and that wouldn't be anything out of the ordinary. That would be so normal.
Danny said in the chat, he said, Quant, limited supply, superb utility, proven with so many banks already on board using their technology, staking to be launched soon. I think these combos are hard to find in crypto. And I don't disagree with that. I actually missed the run on Quant. I didn't miss it because I didn't know about it. I missed it because it was just something that I didn't buy into. There's 10,000 projects out there. We can't invest in all of them. Miguel and I talk about this a lot. Like you can get in, and then there's like the other day, Miguel jumped into Lossless and he talked to me about it. And I was like, yeah, I don't know that I'm feeling it, whatever. The next day, Miguel's calling to let me know that he's up like freaking 50% or something like that.
Well, you let me know. I was talking to you on the phone about it, and you told me, dude, it's like at $2. I was like, for real?
Yeah. I thought, you thought I was messing with you.
Yeah.
So sometimes you get, so that was a good call, right? But sometimes you do 100%. You get lucky. Like, I'll tell you one. I like the project Audius, so I give myself credit for that, right? But the only reason I heard of Audius was Token Metrics. I was listening to a random show of Token Metrics, and I heard about it, and I was like, oh, decentralized music streaming, that's cool. Let me look at that. But had I have not heard that stream that day, I would not have been able to buy in Audius the way that I bought in. Now, I had to make the decision. And this is where people fail all the time, and I've done it too. You've got to make the decision to pull the trigger. You've got to then commit. You've got to be able to ride it up, down, sideways, back down, back up. And there's a lot of commitment. So I always love when people say, "Well, if you would have just bought this, if you'd have just bought Bitcoin in 2000, listen, if you'd have bought Bitcoin in 2000 and freaking 10, okay, let me explain something to you."
You would have
if
sold
you
it
bought
$1,000
worth of Bitcoin in 2010, and you're telling me for one freaking second that you wouldn't have sold out at $1,000, at $2,000, at $3,000 when you have become a millionaire out of $1,000, you'd be crazy like the Dogecoin dude that literally like said he was never taking profits until 10 million or whatever. But B, the reality is the only person that does that is the person that believes in it so heavily on the front end that they're not even just buying 1,000. They're buying as much as they can physically get their hands on. So it's never if I'd only spend $100 here. No, people like that don't spend $100, right? They're all freaking in. And if you weren't the all in person, what I'm getting at is you would have sold. You would have sold. It is a freaking fact.
So where I was, oh, sorry, cut you off.
No, go
So
ahead.
where I was leading in with the whole market cap question, right? The fixed supply is, why is it that we see these other projects like Yearn, Quant, so on, that have low fixed supplies, just like Bitcoin or even lower than Bitcoin's, yet they don't have that level of scarcity in the way of people jumping into really wanting to buy that coin, right? Why is it that we're focusing more on Bitcoin? We say that it's digital gold, right? It's the hedge, right? It's scarce. It's not enough for everybody around the world. Why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we talking about that way when it comes to quant or when it comes to Yearn finance, right? What is it about Bitcoin that makes it different, even if these other coins still come out with lower fixed supply than Bitcoin itself?
I mean, why do people value gold more than titanium? It's like it's comes down to that. It's like Bitcoin's a digital gold, and it's that's a great question. Maybe I don't have the best answer for that, but
yeah. Well, also, no. That's a good answer. Absolutely, there's going to be assets that just get the attention, and others that don't. But I think, Miguel, the most simple answer for that is it was first to market. I mean, it is the OG, and so that carries things a long way, right? When you talk about companies in the space, right? Why is it going to be so freaking hard for Coca-Cola to ever truly be overtaken? Well, because they were essentially the OG in the soda pop space, right? I think it's the same type of idea.
First mover advantage.
These new projects come in exactly like you're talking about. They solve great problems, and some of them wildly succeed, but then some of them don't. And some of them have these great aspirations, and the white paper is really well written, and all of these things don't come to fruition. And so now we're back to the first, building block of investing. And it's like, okay, I've done my research. Now, what am I actually going to pull the trigger and put money into? Because the reality is this is a gamble, whether you want to call it an investment or not. It is a gamble putting your money into, as venture capital, which a lot of the crypto stuff at this point is. We are venture capitalists. If anybody tells you any different, they are lying to themselves, because we are venture capitalists. We are. It's a fact.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at too. Yeah, with that idea is that, and then you got Bitcoin. Okay, you just said quant and whatever. How old is quant? 3 years. And like Bitcoin, 12 years. It's the whole history of this industry. And like you said, like with Pepsi, with look at Galaxy phones or Apple. Look at Apple. Galaxy and all these other, like a couple of these other major, Google phones and all this. Some of them have so many more benefits and so many more, better camera, better quality, better this, better that, and whatever percentage, most of the world still will go with their app. Like they got the trust, it's the branding, it's somebody was saying in there, it's perceived value. Why is a branded handbag worth much more than a normal bag? It's it's. I think that's
perfect.
Very well said. Yeah, across that. So.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. So let me ask you this, Paul. Let me see. How long have we? What are we coming up on, an hour?
Yeah.
I did want to ask you what else? I was going to ask you something about ETH. What was I going to ask you? Oh, so we talked about, actually, you know what? No, we already went over that. Let's get into a couple of the chat to finish off, Miguel.
Wait, hold on. Before we get into the chat, one last question, right? If we're perceiving that Bitcoin can get to $2 million by 2025, 100K ETH by 2025, right? Nick and I have always been talking about our retirement plan, right? Is 2030. That's our number. That's the year, that we're thinking like, all right, that will be set with our portfolio. What would the numbers be looking like by the end of this decade?
2029, 2030, which is two more full runs.
Yeah, the highest price point that we can hit before the end of the decade.
For Bitcoin and ETH?
Yeah, let's just hear. We love moon math too. Go ahead. But I want to see what your thoughts are.
The sheer speculation, I guess, would be, so we got 2 million.
I'm surprised that you're calling for 2 million. And I heard World War Bitcoin say it yesterday too. for 2025. I always expected those numbers in like 2030, right? Like 2028, 2029, never for 2025. So
Really?
if that,
you remember, I mean, I showed you this last time, right? Like I thought I did at least.
No, we were just saying we were surprised just when
yeah. No, surprise for sure. And that's what changed my whole like this is why I'm so desperate to get as much buying power as I can to get as many Bitcoin as I can. Like I hope that makes sense. Like taking the risk, yes, of like whatever, because and not to say being greedy or whatever, but like you have the opportunity here, you know, for the guy who bought Bitcoin at $3,000 like 2 years, you know, I got to work 10 times as hard right now to get that many Bitcoin right now, right? Because whatever. So that is why I'm so desperate to get 30, 60, 100x gainers, increase the buying power, and come in around the lows, right? I know I'm not going to get the low, but if I come in around the low, pick up 10, 20 Bitcoin, whatever,
right?
You know, more than I have now, and then you roll that. I mean, that's going to be monumental. But to answer that in a sheer whatever, I would say by the end of the decade, so 2025, the high for Ethereum would be about 100K. I would say that the high in Ethereum's a weird one. I don't know for that one off the top of my head, I guess. But Bitcoin, I can do the exact math here for what I showed you last time.
He's got a fib extension for it. He's ready.
Yeah, I'll just.
I'm ready, baby. Let's give me those numbers.
But, you know, the last time we looked, I'll just do the last one here. And if you guys look at the previous video that we did together last week, it has the whole overview of the entire like Bitcoin price history where this fib level hits the top of the market each time. Yep. So this is also, you know, this little extension right here. This would be the top target for Bitcoin this cycle, 206,000. Blow off top. Let's give it 20%, right? So you get an 80% pullback generally. So let's just say 250 is our top. We're going to go down 80%. 82 sounds good, right? So now we got our top at 250 of this run, right? We got our bottom in the bear market low next year. And then we're going to do the same deal. We're going to go from top to bottom. We're going to pull up. This is our 2025 target for Bitcoin. Comes in a little bit around 2 million, 2.5 million, right? Now this is the time where, you know, this 272, if this, you know, generally you actually like for most like prices, I really look for like the 1.618 or this 2 to get hit. So Ethereum has actually only managed to hit the 2, you know, when I pull this fib level up for Ethereum. So it's never really gotten a 2.272. Only Bitcoin is twice so far. We'll see if it's a third hit the 2.272, but let's just say that trend continues. 2025, the top 4 Bitcoin would be, you got, you know, whatever, $2 million. Okay. So let's say we get an 80% pullback, right? 2026 now.
So it's 400K.
Right. So we're going back down to, 400K as a bottom. And
Rain Man.
Top to bottom here. This would be the 2029 high, right? The end of the decade, right before the next Great Depression hits in the stock market. Dude, this would be the full-on transition. Like the stock market would have to melt into this, but this would be like I don't even want to read it. It sounds stupid. $25 million. $25 million. But let's look at the diminishing returns. The diminishing returns, right? So, you know, it was like 50,000% the first bull run, and then it was 10,000%, whatever. This bull run would be that we're in right now would be 8,000% gains. Damn it. And then the 2025 bull run for percentage gains would be.
Where are you getting the percentage differences besides historically moving forward? Like when you go historically, are you just taking that percent, that diminishing? So 25 to 10 to 8 to whatever those numbers are, you're taking those percentages and keep extrapolating down?
Yeah, just from the bottom to the high of the levels. Yeah. So like this bottom, you know, if we came in at 40K next year and we rallied up to 2 million, that would actually be less percentage gains than we'd see in this bull run. That'd be 5,000%. Yeah. And then, you know, it's just the numbers start getting astronomical.
Yeah, because it'd be
and like I said, this just sounds foolish at this point, and that would be 6,000. So that would be actually more than this one. So maybe that doesn't play out like that. But
wow,
yet to be seen, my friends. But yeah, that'd be hopium, I guess. But
let me ask you this before we jump off. Well, I do want to answer a couple questions in the chat if we've got them, Miguel. So maybe pop up a couple of those. But Paul, let me ask you this: do you believe, Miguel and I have talked about this a lot, do you believe that there is a point at which we start to see a lull in the crypto markets as if we are in the stock market? And if so, how far out does that look for you? Because we kind of think that after that 2030 mark, we might be at the point where the stock market might at that point be on the blockchain, and it could basically have absorbed the stock market, and we could be trading 24/7 on both markets, and it could be to the point where we are literally just kind of that few percent here, a few percent there, whatever. It can't go on forever wild, because it's like the internet made these massive gains when it came out, but now it's just part of daily life.
Right. No, that'll definitely happen. And even looking at those, which the prices are outrageous, but you
Yeah.
see the progression, you get lower and lower, you get lower returns over those periods. Going on the idea of 2029, which is interesting. But so I have an idea with the stock market and whatever, and I know everybody's anticipating a pretty big crash. I'm anticipating a really big, like historic, obviously like Great Depression crash,
Uh-huh.
basically at the end of this decade as well, right? So, and that's going over the Dow Jones, the 18-year cycle. Technically, it has a 17-year cycle, and then the housing market has an 18-year cycle, which we actually just kind of started the second phase of that, which is several years of basically a blow off top in the housing market. So a lot of
Yeah,
people
till
are going to be waiting
2026.
quite a long time to buy a house, but it all correlates with that end of this decade, basically. So just even looking at this really briefly, it's interesting to see. I see more than anything that you're right. I think that we'll kind of merge the stock market, the cryptocurrency market, but I think that it'll all be merged into just one. I don't think we'll have both. I think that if we had a catastrophic 90% fall in the stock market, at that point they'd scrap it, and we could just
It'll
you'd put
just
it
be the
all.
market.
Yeah, you just make the one. Like you said, everything would probably move over to blockchain to some degree, or there'd be tokens that back this and that. And I think that it would just kind of grow from the ground up, basically, and just have one global market. Moves into the idea of all the global currency and all that stuff. But that's I do agree. I think that by the end of the decade, everything will be totally different. So it's not like we're going to have face melting 100x gainers for
Right.
every 4 years like
Right.
clockwork. So.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so what do you see, right? So if stuff like that, you're expecting, economic crash 2029, crazy catastrophic stuff, the market, the stock market being merged into crypto. What's going to be the world reserve currency? What's going to happen with that, right? The $1 million question,
Some sort of a
Yeah,
CBDC.
or the
It's coming.
that is $1 million question. So I mean, I don't know, right? So I mean, that's
or
something that
a million Satoshi question. What is it?
right. Yeah, I mean, it's like it'll probably be something digital, obviously, and who knows? I doubt it'll be Bitcoin. I doubt it'll be it'll probably be like you just said, yeah, some government backed digital
Yeah.
dollar. That.
But do you ever
agrees on.
foresee a digital dollar, right, backed by Bitcoin?
No.
I think that it's like if you were to sit around 2001 and try to figure out what the internet would have became and what would have like the iPhone that would have come out of that, and I don't think there's anybody out there that could have easily
That's true.
like a normal person like
That's
us.
very true.
Maybe the powers that be they had a plan, but I think that it's so far out that you don't know how it's going to progress. Like, man, like even looking around right now, I'm blown away by how far even just 4 years has come in
Technology.
yeah, we're just in crypto, man. Like, you had three
Yeah.
coins on Coinbase 4 years ago. You had no DeFi, you had no staking, you had no you had nothing, man. Even like the information at hand, even like we had a few people on YouTube that
Yep.
you just
dude.
It was Reddit, like Reddit was pretty much actually, and Twitter were like the main hubs, but it's just, everything that's come from that. I don't even know if you could guess what we're going to look like.
No,
in
that's
2026.
a really good point, Paul, because you're so right. You trying to extrapolate out and look at what our technology sector is, because essentially that's what we're talking about here. We're talking
Right.
about our technology sector right now, and that grows exponentially, right? We've seen that as every time we come out with some new wild technology. Miguel showed me a freaking video of a nanobot like chasing after and attaching itself to a sperm to a sperm,
Oh,
right?
God.
Which then Miguel, and then didn't it actively went after injected
It grabbed the sperm, right? It's like a spiral, and then it made the sperm swim. It pushed the sperm into the egg,
to the front of the
forcing
line into
to
the egg
fertilize the egg.
winner.
Yeah.
Tell me,
And we're talking about
tell me we're yeah,
microscopic technology that literally goes to that level,
yeah.
identifies a sperm, and then grabs it and says, "Well, you got to go over here, buddy." Boop.
So you know what? Paul, have you ever watched Black Mirror?
Yeah.
Okay, so in Black Mirror, there are a lot of wild, right? So I'm waiting for the next season to come out. It needs to come out soon. There are some very quote wild ideas, but as we get further and farther closer to this metaverse, dude, these ideas are not so wild.
Well,
The one where they literally had like the contacts where their eyes would turn gray and then they could like digitally
play games.
record like
Yeah.
everything that's happened. Like Facebook now has some freaking sunglasses. Like that's one more step towards what
Yeah.
they're talking about. This is getting wild.
Well,
I
the
think
thing is too that the two emerging technologies that I don't think people really understand the capabilities of them yet, and one of them, it blows my mind that we're not further yet, but I think that it'll be exponential in how it's implemented into our world. And one is virtual reality, right?
Yep.
So I know a guy who's been working on virtual reality for 22 years, an engineer for 22, mind you, 22
Wow.
years ago. Could you even imagine thinking of virtual reality? So that's how long it's been in the making, right?
Yeah, bro.
So
Instagram didn't even exist that long ago.
Right. So it's crazy to even think of that. And, he was bringing up all this stuff with like digital warehouses and like basically, essentially, you could be in your house and you go virtual and you meet up with your friend that lives in Texas and you're over here and you have these virtual box wines that, so you don't spill it when you have the glasses on, but you visualize yourself drinking a martini. Your friend could do this. You guys could be in Paris, like in whatever. You don't even got to get dressed. The other technology behind that is
Player Ready One, bro. Player Ready One.
Right. And then the voice stuff, right? The Alexas and all this stuff. There's so much technology at hand, but behind the two of those that they could almost take, and the glasses coming out, like there's probably a time in the near future where we won't lean on the cell phones as much because you'll have everything just in front of your eyes the entire time.
Augmented reality, bro. Augmented reality.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how all that, and then virtual currency, that's going to play a huge factor, I'm sure, that goes along into it. So I'm sure that this space is going to grow like exponentially. But just right now, it's just the beginning stages, and it's a cash grab in my eyes. Like you guys went through the bear market and all this, and that just completely, erased my I don't know, it knocked the blinders off, I guess, for me. I could care less about any project. I mean, I'd like to accumulate more Bitcoin and whatever, but like holding Solana through a bear market, no. Holding anything through a bear market, no. I mean,
exactly.
You could, and 5 years later, you'll be probably like in a 5-10 year, actual investing strategy. You'll come out on top. Like anybody that even bought the top in 2017, like it was a miserable 3 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
But look at you now. Like we'll probably never see, not even probably, I know we'll never see a $20,000 Bitcoin again. I know we'll never see probably less than 40, right? Like if we're looking at a 250 top and 42 is an 80% bottom, you'll never see it. When everybody was, so petrified of a 30K Bitcoin, like they won't realize till next year that was like, they will never have been at a loss if they would have sold everything and got in at that point. But when you're living that day to day, people.
Yeah, man. I guess, we're experiencing the greatest transfer of wealth. I don't think just in our generation or in our lifetime. I think for multiple generations, there will never be another great transfer of wealth as there is right now.
Right. Yeah. But the problem with that is too, though, is that you have to have a plan in mind, because what happens is most people are transferring it right back because you know what I mean. Like, think about the institutional weight that is in the market now, which I think they've always been. I think you're a fool to think that the institutions haven't been running the shows the entire time. But regardless, you know that they're in the game now, and like I said, people sold $30,000 Bitcoin right to the investors, right to the institutions, like transferred it literally right back. And now they're afraid to buy back in at 65, 62. They're going to be afraid to buy back in at 67. And they'll probably FOMO back in at 100 and then panic sell at 70. You know, like it's just it's a rinse and repeat almost. So it's
I
tough,
completely agree with that.
It's tough. And, you know, it's definitely work. It's nothing worthwhile is going to be easy. And this, you know, day to day, even in this greatest bull run in history right now, most people are losing money. And that baffles me personally, but I get it, you know?
No doubt. No doubt. I did want to touch on one comment that I just saw real quick. It said, by 2029, a gallon of gas might cost $100. I know that comment is basically alluding to the fact that our inflation is going to get so wildly out of control. But the reality is, Eric, in my estimation, that you'll never see that, only from a standpoint of at that point, you're at a Venezuela a situation, and that'll never happen because of the fact that the U.S. would have to literally give.
Don't say that. Don't say it'll never happen, because in the 90s, gas was under $1, right? And that was the normal. The normal now is above $2.
We're not going to get to a point where we are 25x where we're at right now anytime soon. I can tell you that. Because if we keep printing, dude, we literally are moving into hyperinflation. Our money is now worthless. We are no longer the superpower. That's it. Period.
No, so how can we not be the superpower?
I'm telling you this.
Hold on. No. Wait. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, dude. The whole world is under the weight of the dollar. The dollar hyperinflates. Everyone else gets more crushed than the United States. The United States doesn't lose status because the dollar hyperinflates. Everyone else is holding dollars as their reserves.
People will move, but that won't be the reserve currency if it continues to inflate. It will not,
unless they buy Bitcoin. They got nothing else. If everyone's still in the fiat game, right? If all these governments are still in the fiat game, their reserves are in dollars.
They're going to take people. They're going to introduce a CBDC, right? And they're going to tell you,
and what that's going to reset all debts.
They're going to tell you all of the great things that they can do with it. It's going to be programmable money. We've talked about this before, and they are going to try to absorb in some type of crazy ass way all of these tax dollars that we have, or all this money that we've just been. Here you go. Here you go.
That's fine. But they're always going to be printing more, right? They're always going to be digitally creating more money because they can't stop spending, and they can't erase the past debts, right? Whatever digital dollar they create will be attached to the debts that we already have.
Inflation.
I don't see it, man. I don't think so. They can't just erase that.
Deflation. It's coming. I'm serious.
No, it's too easy. It's too easy.
It's going to be scary. No, it's going to be bad. Way worse. The inflation will be a blessing compared to people not spending anything. So I don't know. It's going to get wild. There's no doubt. Either way, Miguel's wrong. But so, all right, no, guys. Literally, seriously, thank you guys for Paul, as always, bro. Thank you for coming on. We're a little bit over on time this evening, but we, as always, appreciate having you on. Hey, we're going to have you on next week again. Yeah, we good for next Thursday? So Thursday, guys, this is going to be a thing. So make sure that you guys are here. Listen, we never told you to do this. X out of the live chat before we get out of here, please. Smash up the likes. That super helps us out. We've got, I don't know, about 50 people or so in the chat, or at least we did. Make sure you guys smash up the likes for us. Make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed. If you're not following CVO on all of the socials, fix that problem. And if you're not following us, hey, same thing. Make it happen. So we love each and every one of you. We hope you guys have a wonderful evening. And until next time, HODL like it's hot.
We'll see
you guys soon.